Have you ever felt like you're moving through life with your soul wrapped in a fog? It's not sadness, and it's not just physical tiredness. It's something deeper, a quiet inner voice that doesn't shout but still feels heavy, a feeling with no shape that seems to cover everything. It's like there's an ancient voice inside you, older than your thoughts, wiser than your beliefs, watching you and quietly asking, how long are you going to keep pretending this is what life is? Sometimes your body keeps moving forward, but your spirit feels stuck. Even as you go through the motions, keeping up with schedules, commitments, routines, something inside starts to crack. Little breaks in the mask you've built, a dimming of the spark in your eyes, a strange disconnection from excitement, a nostalgia with no clear reason, just an echo. This video isn't just another one. You're here for a reason. Maybe without even realizing it, your soul has started to stir, to get restless, to feel tired. And in that tiredness, a call begins. When the soul grows weary, it's not dying, it's waking up. Today, we're going to talk about that kind of exhaustion that goes beyond stress and sleepless nights, beyond just mental strain. We'll talk about soul fatigue, that crucial moment when your deepest self says, enough. We'll explore the invisible but unmistakable signs that a spiritual renewal is already happening inside you, even if you don't fully get it yet. We'll uncover the subtle but powerful signs of change, from losing meaning in everyday life to noticing coincidences that just don't make sense. We'll see how your body, your feelings, and even your relationships start reflecting that quiet cry from your soul, asking for authenticity, depth, and purpose. On this journey, I'm not going to offer quick fixes. There are no shortcuts when it comes to awakening the soul. But you will find keys, signs, and forgotten truths that might resonate with the most private parts of your being. Because when the soul gets tired, it's not the end. It's the beginning of something sacred, coming back to yourself. Get ready. We're about to dive into ancient knowledge that few dare to face head-on. Today, we won't just talk about soul fatigue. Together, we'll learn how to understand it. Since the beginning of humanity, the soul hasn't been seen as just an abstract idea, but as the vital core of who we are, the invisible thread connecting who we are now with who we could become. In almost every ancient culture, soul exhaustion wasn't considered a disease or weakness, but a sacred sign, a warning that something important was out of balance. Many traditions called this the dark night of the soul, spiritual thirst, or the spirit's groan. The ancient Egyptians believed that people had multiple souls or spiritual parts, the Ka, the Ba, the Ak, and when one of these fell out of balance, it showed in visible ways. Losing enthusiasm, strange illnesses, sadness without reason, rejecting routine. For them, this wasn't a curse, but a chance. It was the soul's call to reunite with Ma'at, the universal principle of order, truth, and harmony. In India's Vedic traditions, there's the idea of vairagya, a deep detachment not born from dislike, but from the soul's tiredness with the world's illusions. When the soul grew tired of chasing fleeting pleasures, it started a process of reflection and letting go that opened the door to moksha, spiritual liberation. In that way, fatigue wasn't failure, but the beginning of transformation. Even Greek philosophy, which shaped much of Western thought, recognized this. Socrates said, an unexamined life isn't worth living. And this examination wasn't just intellectual, but spiritual, a confrontation with yourself in silence and confusion. Plato saw the soul as something from the world of ideas that suffered once it forgot where it came from. Soul fatigue then was homesickness for its lost home, a longing for something beyond what the material world could offer. In Sufi mysticism, they talk about masha, the sacred emptiness, a state where the soul, tired of external forms, prepares to welcome the divine. Spiritual fatigue is seen as a crucible, an alchemy where all that's false burns away so the true essence can emerge. The Sufi doesn't run from soul fatigue. He welcomes it, honors it, and turns it into silent prayer. Western esoteric traditions see this fatigue as the break between the lower self, ego and conditioned personality, and the higher self, the immortal soul, the eternal traveler. Spiritual alchemy teaches that this inner exhaustion is the nigredo stage, the soul's dark phase when every sense of identity breaks down, not to destroy but to purify. Nigredo is the fertile black earth of the soul, but first it must be uncovered, tilled, and watered with tears and silence. In Christian mysticism, figures like St. John of the Cross describe the dark night of the soul as a necessary step to awaken consciousness. It's not depression or a breakdown, but a deep spiritual journey where God, love, the void, or whatever you call it, quiet all outside voices so you can hear the one that matters, the soul's own. Despite cultural or religious differences, these traditions agree that when the soul grows tired, something sacred is about to happen. The soul doesn't get tired because it's weak, but because it's wise. It tires because it's been pretending too long, playing roles, repeating desires that aren't really its own. In that tiredness, in that silent sigh crossing time and cultures, there's a universal truth. The soul doesn't want comfort, it wants meaning. It doesn't crave empty pleasure but beauty with depth. It doesn't long for easy but for truth. Knowing this history and philosophy helps us see our own fatigue with new eyes, not as a flaw but as a sign, not as an end but as a door. And that door, as we'll explore next, doesn't lead outward but inward. When the soul gets tired, it doesn't send emails or flash big red alerts. It doesn't knock on the door like a sickness or shout like a hurt ego. The soul speaks quietly in whispers, using a poetic language that can be confusing at times and painfully clear at others. It communicates through symptoms, gut feelings, and absences, and people who haven't learned its language often mistake these signs for just discouragement, stress, or laziness. But the soul has its own way of speaking, a language that's been around since ancient times, now almost lost amid the noise of digital life and the rush of daily routines. Listening to the soul is like relearning a forgotten language, and the first thing it says when it gets tired is that something vital inside us has stopped resonating. One of the most common and surprising signs of spiritual exhaustion is losing your sense of meaning just when you're supposed to have everything you want. You might have a steady job, a busy social life, a functioning family, everything looks fine on the outside, but inside there's a growing emptiness, like living in a beautifully decorated house with no windows, no fresh air, no soul. Here's our first key idea. The soul doesn't get fed by the same things that satisfy the body or the ego. The body needs rest and food. The ego wants recognition and success, but the soul craves purpose, beauty, and genuine connection. When those three are missing, the soul starts to wither, even if everything else looks okay. Think of a flower locked inside a box. You can give it the best soil and water it carefully, but without sunlight, it will slowly die. It's the same with the soul. It might be surrounded by luxury, achievements, or functional relationships, but if there's no light, no inner sense of truth, it simply fades away. The second idea is emotional exhaustion with no obvious outside cause. You feel drained, not because you've done too much, but because you haven't done what truly fulfills you. Like a fish out of water, you can survive for a while, but your energy slips away every time you try to act normal. This kind of fatigue builds up, not from one big failure, but from 1,000 small daily betrayals of your true self. saying yes when you wanted to say no, following paths set by others, postponing what you really want out of fear or habit. Modern life is great at disconnecting us from our souls, without us even noticing. Everything is designed to entertain, fill time, and distract from silence. But it's in that silence that the soul starts to speak, and the first thing it usually says is, "This isn't what you're here for." Another sign of a tired soul is losing the passion for things that once excited you. It's unsettling. How can something you once loved feel dull or mechanical now? The answer is both simple and deep. The soul changes. It's not fixed. What used to feed it may stop doing so, not because it's wrong, but because it's served its purpose. The soul doesn't fear change. It wants it. Our minds, clinging to security, see this need for change as instability or a crisis. So when the soul gets tired, it often gets bored too. Routine loses its appeal. This isn't being picky. It's a deep drive pushing us toward a life that matches our true selves. Questions start to come up that don't have easy answers. Who am I beyond the roles I play? What would I do if fear wasn't holding me back? What parts of myself have I let die just to fit in? These questions don't want quick fixes. They want to shake your foundation because the soul isn't interested in comfort. It wants growth. And when it gets tired, it's because you've lived too long in a skin that's not really yours. If the soul could cry, it would do so silently. But since it has no eyes or voice, it cries through your body, your dreams, and feelings you can't name. When the soul tires, it doesn't shut down all at once. It pulls back like a hurt animal retreating to the deepest corner of your being, waiting for you to stop and listen. One of the most confusing things that can happen then is the appearance of physical symptoms with no clear medical cause. Random aches, chronic fatigue, trouble sleeping, or an overwhelming need to sleep for hours. Even with all our medical advances, doctors often can't find a reason because the source is invisible, not physical. When the soul can't express itself, it shows up as imbalance in the body. The body becomes the altar where the soul speaks its silent prayers, its unspoken truths. This isn't about ignoring science. It's about remembering that some illnesses aren't cured by pills, but by meaning. It's not science versus spirituality. It's both telling the same story in different ways. What today we call somatization used to be called the spirit's lament, and it's not your enemy but your guide, telling you that something deep inside needs attention, as if your soul borrowed your body's voice to scream what your mind won't admit. You're living a life that doesn't honor who you really are. Then there's another big sign: emotional numbness. You become a bystander in your own life. You're there, but not really there. You laugh because you have to, talk out of duty, move on autopilot. What once thrilled you feels flat now. This isn't apathy, it's self-protection. Your soul is putting up armor because it can't handle the act anymore. It's like a flame reduced to a tiny spark before it goes out. But sometimes that little spark is the last light left, and that's where renewal begins. But before rebuilding can happen, the soul has to pull back, disconnect, empty itself. And here's where one of the most revealing parts of the process comes in: the appearance of synchronicities. A book shows up just when you need it most. A song sends exactly the message your soul is trying to say. A chance meeting sparks a series of thoughts that change your path. These synchronicities aren't random. They're the universe responding to a new energy coming from you. It's like by quieting your mind and dropping your masks, your soul starts sending out a clearer, more authentic signal. And at this new frequency, you begin to attract people, situations, and messages that you would have missed before. These aren't fate's signs. They're echoes of your inner shift. Next comes unexpected creativity. I'm not talking about professional talent, but that almost urgent need to express yourself, to let out something that's been bottled up inside for too long. Suddenly you want to write, draw, sing, spend time in nature, or rebuild your inner world. This creativity isn't just a passing whim, it's the soul carving pathways back to life. In many traditions, creating is healing. Shamans painted, monks chanted mantras, sages composed sacred songs, knowing that making something is a way to free, to heal, to remember. When the soul is tired, it doesn't ask for rest. It asks to create. And as this unfolds, your relationships often shift, not because of conflict, but because of resonance. You might feel out of sync with people who used to be so important, not because you stopped loving them, but because they no longer match the frequency your soul is now tuned to. This isn't rejection, it's energetic honesty. It hurts, but it also frees. What looks like loss of passion, friendships, or stability is actually a rearranging, the soul making space for what's next. Like any birth, this process can be messy, painful, and beautiful all at once. Because in the end, the soul doesn't grow weary from weakness, but from wisdom. And when it does, it sets in motion one of life's most powerful acts: rebirth. The soul doesn't need saving, it needs remembering. To remember, you have to create space in your daily life where it can show up without fear or judgment, free from simply being useful. Spiritual renewal isn't some sudden miracle. It's a gentle art, a daily choice to come back to yourself. Here, you won't find magic formulas or quick fixes, but you will find keys to unlock doors inside you if you're brave enough to turn them. 1. Deliberate silence. The soul doesn't shout. In a world that never stops talking, thinking, scrolling, and buzzing, you have to cut through the noise to hear it. Carve out pockets of radical silence, not just absence of words, but screens, distractions, and expectations set aside. Even a few minutes a day sitting quietly, doing nothing, lets your soul breathe. 2. Presence as ritual. Any action can be sacred when done with full attention. Eating, showering, walking. Don't rush or go through the motions. Feel each moment fully because it truly is unique. The soul lives in the present. It can't be found in the past you mourn or the future you worry about. 3. Emotional discernment. Not every feeling is truly yours. Many come from outside or are repeated patterns. Ask your emotions. Where do you come from? What are you trying to tell me? Don't push away sadness or run from anger. Watch and listen. The soul uses feelings to guide you toward what matters most. Ignoring them is like ignoring a lighthouse in a storm. 4. Conscious authenticity. Speak your truth even when it's uncomfortable. Follow your own path even if others don't get it. Be loyal to yourself, not to what others expect. Every honest act, no matter how small, strengthens your soul. Every lie, mask, or self-deception weakens it. This isn't rebellion, it's reality. 5. Beauty as medicine. Surround yourself with beauty, not luxury, but true beauty. A flower, a song, a poem, a sincere gaze. Beauty is a direct connection between soul and spirit. Don't just consume it, live it. Make your surroundings a sanctuary, no matter how simple. 6. The courage to let go. Much of what drains the soul isn't effort but attachment to ideas, people, or how things should be. Letting go isn't losing, it's making room for new growth. Practice detachment not as bitterness but as a dance with the unknown. Finally, remember this. Your soul isn't broken, it's calling. It doesn't want you to change to become better. It wants you to remember who you really are beneath all the conditioning. Caring for your soul means daring to live from the inside out, allowing yourself to exist fully and freely. Because the greatest act of spiritual love isn't escaping life, but living it with an awake soul. You've come to the end of this journey, but what matters isn't that you arrived here. It's what's starting to wake up inside you. If anything here resonated, if a part of you stirred as an old memory quietly reappeared, then your soul isn't dead. It's alive. Tired, yes, but alive. And in a world that often feels asleep, that's an act of courage. Today, we talked about a weariness that sleep can't fix, a dissatisfaction money can't solve, a longing that travel can't satisfy. Because when the soul is tired, it doesn't want more stuff, it wants truth. And truth isn't found outside, but in coming back to yourself. You're not alone in feeling this sacred emptiness. These signs aren't madness, they're awakening. Insomnia, sadness, confusion, loss of passion, heightened sensitivity, synchronicities, they're the soul's way of saying, I'm ready to come home. Are you ready to come with me? This process might feel chaotic. You might feel like you're losing control, getting lonely, watching your world fall apart. And that's true, but it's a sacred kind of falling apart. You're not breaking down, you're shedding everything that's not really you, like a snake shedding its skin, like a forest burning to grow back stronger. You don't need all the answers. No one who wakes up has them. Awakening isn't about knowing everything. It's about learning to live with questions, humility, and wonder. It means allowing yourself to be a mystery in constant change, an eternal spark in human form. This video isn't an ending. It's an invitation to see your life in a new way, to ask if you're living in a way that truly honors you, to pause and listen, not to me, not to this channel, but to that inner voice that's never left you, even if you've tried to ignore it. Maybe this is the first time you really stopped to listen, or maybe you've been walking this quiet path for years. Either way, today you took a step, and that's worth celebrating. I invite you to keep going. Dive deeper, keep listening, keep reading and sharing. Join this community of seekers who won't settle for just getting by, but have decided, with courage and kindness, to live with awake souls. Leave a comment, share your story, because when one person speaks from the soul, others remember theirs, and that's this channel's true mission, to create a space where the unseen has a voice, where spirituality isn't a luxury but a right, a practice, a way to fully live. And if something inside you woke up today, don't let it fall asleep again.